Hello, this is my short presentation on star hopping. This is navigating the night sky without a computerized telescope. These are techniques that have served me well over the years, and although it won't be an exciting video, I'm hoping it will at least be helpful. Every culture has its own way of grouping the stars into meaningful symbols, but the most common charts you'll find reference these origins: the Middle Eastern, Roman, and Greek. Don't think that you cannot move on until you master all the constellations. I recommend you learn them as you need them. The right way for you is what works for you, suits your equipment, environment, schedule, your life, and gives more satisfaction than frustration. You will need charts. One easy source is a copy of Sky News magazine. Sky News is a publication of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. There's 6 issues per year, and inside there's a seasonal star map. You can often find it in your library as well. This is the map, and it's a good start for constellations. These maps include a rundown on where I'm going to see planets and the moon phases by date. Visual observing requires some preservation of night vision. A hard copy of my chart plus a dim red flashlight works best for me. Most small flashlights you find in hardware stores are LEDs and very bright. Add layers of red plastic film available at fabric stores or really any red plastic that you might have around. Add successive layers to dim the light to the level required. The darker the observing site, the dimmer the flashlight has to be. Avoid getting the flashlights that have a flashing emergency setting. This is very irritating, and invariably you will press that button in the dark. When I use bound charts, I use the double star atlas. It's not just double stars, there are all kinds of things cataloged here. And it's spiral bound, so it lies flat when open. This is a chart sample from the double star. This is actually only half of chart 14 as it continues on the facing page. The scale is nice, easy to read in dim light, and the key to the objects is printed on every chart, every page. You can photocopy the chart, make notes directly on the photocopy, and insert it into an observing log. An observing log is not for everyone, but it can be helpful. If you're writing down your observations, you may find it encourages attention to detail. These charts were in a spiral bound book that I purchased secondhand. I cut them out and used clear contact paper to do a less than perfect job of laminating. But if I'm observing at home, this is what I use every time with my software charts. The scale is similar to the double star, but the maps are 21 inches by 16 inches. You can purchase field sets like this that come plasticized already. These software programs are great. I use Starry Night and Carte du Ciel regularly to plan a session or generate a chart that I want. While most planetarium software programs have a night vision setting, few are really dim enough for me to preserve night vision right at the scope. Tablets and mobile phones are also a hindrance to night vision preservation. This is the Carte du Ciel program, and this is what a sample of the software looks like as it appears on screen. These are the advantages. You open your software, you set the time and date and location of where you are, or when you want to observe and where you're observing from, and it will generate an image of the sky that will show you what constellations are available. Generate charts for different magnifications. You may want a low magnification chart to show you an entire constellation, and then you want to zoom into a specific area. Generate charts that reflect your telescope view. We're going to talk about that. Your naked eye view and your binocular view are not going to be the same as looking through your telescope. All your directions are going to be flipped around, and if you want to star hop, you really need to know that. Add your finder profile to the chart for scale. We're going to talk about different finders and how they're going to help you point in the right direction. Many households have binoculars. If you have binoculars, start with those. Do not worry about what the magnification is, just get them outside. One thing you'll notice that it does not take a very heavy pair of binoculars for you to realize that holding them up to the sky is tiring. A lounge chair with armrests or a tall enough tripod can be helpful. These are field of view measurements relating our chart to the view in the sky. Each circle represents a different pair of binoculars. These are 7 by 35s, and these are both 7 by 50s. Each circle represents a pair of binoculars. There's a fair bit of difference depending on the magnification, and if you're using the diameter of the field of view to move across the sky, you'll need to be mindful of this and review the field of view at the start of each hop. Finders. Both of these devices are fixed to the telescope tube. I use the Rigel model, but they're quite similar in function. They both have a small plastic window that shows a red bullseye to indicate where your scope is pointed. You can carefully align these with a stationary object during daylight hours, and with practice and improved alignment skills, you can set it up with a star or planet after dark. This is the bullseye, and it's dimmable. You can see that if you had this cranked up to the brightest setting, that finding a naked eye visible star, but still a fairly dim star, will be very difficult to target with this. The bright glow of the red bullseye will overpower. It's not uncommon for people to replace the red dot finder that may have come with their scope with one of these models. Or you may be replacing a small finder scope as well. Moving around the Big Dipper is a great place to warm up your hopping skills. Most people think that Polaris should be easy to find. There's an assumption that it will be a bright star. It is bright enough to be seen naked eye, but certainly not among the brightest. It's all about location to the North Celestial Pole that makes it important to us. 2 stars here in the bowl of the Dipper. Here's the bowl of the Dipper, and here is the handle. These 2 stars are often referred to as the pointer stars because it's Polaris that they point to. Confirm that you have Polaris by following the handle of the Dipper down to the bowl of the Dipper. So this is the Little Dipper. And if these stars are not naked eye visible, these ones probably will be. And for orientation, remember that the Little Dipper pours into the Big Dipper. These 2 galaxies are a very nice little star hop. If you take a diagonal line and draw it across the bowl of the Dipper, and then take the same distance again out, you'll find that M81 and M82 are very, very close by. It's just a little telescope nudge to get to those 2. 81 is a spiral galaxy, 82 is an irregular galaxy. M101 is a spiral galaxy, and these 2 bright stars in the handles of the Big Dipper make almost a perfect equilateral triangle with M01. Very easy, very satisfying. M53 is a globular cluster with a Telrad finder projected on the sky. And if we note the scale on our charts as well, this naked eye star is visible through the Telrad. And we know from the chart that M53 is going to be on the edge of the finder. So if we slide this line of the bullseye target up to the naked eye star, then the center of the target is going to be moved over to M53. So this will take practice because you have to become accustomed to which direction you're moving the scope in. M94 is a galaxy, and the finder is on the edge of an imaginary line that joins these 2 bright stars. And then it's just a short hop, just a short nudge over to M94. As I mentioned before, the naked eye and binocular view are going to be very different from your eyepiece view. Your eyepiece view may be reversed or upside down and reversed. And this depends on the type of telescope that you're using. So if you take note carefully here, this is the handle of the Big Dipper again. There's our Telrad marker. There's a little triangle of 3 stars, and there's a potential target, M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy. So this is how it's going to look naked eye or binoculars, but when we move to the scope, this may be what we see. So the target now is on top, the triangle of stars is below it, and then the finder below that again, and then the handle of the Big Dipper. So you need to absorb these cues to know which direction to be moving. This is a chunk of the constellation Auriga. When you're looking at the eyepiece, you need to look to patterns of stars that you see on the chart. This line of stars can be seen naked eye, and therefore you can easily line up your finder with that. And you're going to find those leading away from a line that joins these 2 bright stars. So you find these 2 bright stars in the constellation, and then you can find this little train of stars. It's going to look like a little streak. You're not going to be able to resolve stars naked eye, but you'll be able to put your finder on this. So now we've found this arrangement, and we're going to hop to IC 405. Notably not very far away, but a good example of how to use local cues for navigation. So in this line of stars, you see that there's a couple of doubles here. These are the brighter stars in those doubles. A larger dot means that it's a brighter star, and these are slightly dimmer. So we know that IC 405 Flaming Star Nebula is on the side of the dimmer stars of those 2 pairs. So we want to be moving in this direction. Also, we see that dim star, and this star make a nice little triangle. And do you have the right star for the triangle here? Well, there's a little drop down that is a little dimmer still, but still a good star. So when you find this pair, you know you're in the neighborhood. You know you should be able to see that. Whether you will or not depends on the quality of your sky and the type of telescope that you have. Another jumping off point in this chart, which will show us the value of a zoom of your charts. Here's our bright stars again. And at the halfway point here, if we put our binoculars here and just shift a little bit to the left, we're going to see these 2 little triangles of stars, there and there. Triangles or L shapes, whatever you like. But if you draw a line here and here, you're going to see that they sort of make a little triangle or a little rectangle, sorry. And we make note of this and we go to a higher power. So this is in fact a variable star chart, and there's our configuration that shows us that little rectangle that we were imagining. And you can see how it takes us right into the neighborhood of this target. This target can be very dim at times. It is variable, so sometimes it's quite dim. And it would take a couple of different steps down to zero in on that when it's at its dimmest. But you get the idea. So that's my take on star hopping, and I'm hoping you'll find it helpful. Things that I want you to take note of is check out the free software. Only purchase bound charts that can lie flat. The darker the sky, the dimmer the flashlight. Lots of red plastic here. Save your printed charts. You can use them again and again. And no matter what your age, if you travel to a dark site for observing, even if you're familiar with that dark site, take a buddy. It doesn't take much to just take that extra little step of safety. Don't travel alone. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and happy observing and clear skies. Thanks. Bye.